For us to start a build-up, a rebuilding of the military might of America. And it is time for us to build that to the point that no other nation on this earth will ever dare raise a hand against us. And in this way, we will preserve world peace, and we're the only ones who can do it.
On August the 7th, 1945, President Truman announced the atomic bombing of Hiroshima with these words. "The experiment," he said, "has been an overwhelming success." 3 days later, the destruction of Nagasaki was officially described as having achieved good results. These announcements, and especially the words used, experiment, success, good results, to describe the unique and horrific carnage of nuclear war, were the first public examples of a new kind of propaganda. By using reassuring, even soothing language which allowed both the politicians and us to distance ourselves from the horror of nuclear war, this new kind of propaganda created acceptable images of war and the illusion that we could live securely with nuclear weapons. Even those first two bombs on Japan had nice comic book names, Little Boy and Fat Man, and soon bombs were no longer bombs at all, but devices and hardware, with names like Mule and Sow and Little Bambi. Bigger and more lethal weapons were called modernized systems. Above all, we were conditioned to accept a so-called strategy for possessing nuclear weapons called deterrence, which no one could explain rationally, and which blurred the fact that a massive nuclear arms race was well underway. For 15 years of this arms race, up to 1980, the British Parliament did not once debate nuclear weapons. Such was a secrecy aimed not so much at a potential enemy, but at the British people. It was all very simple. Our side were simply the good guys of the West, and the other side were the bad guys, a dark threat, seldom portrayed in human terms. Surely, what has been overlooked is that we are a democracy, unlike the Soviet Union, and that in a democracy, secrecy and propaganda ought not to control how we think, especially in matters of national survival, and that principle is assumed throughout this documentary. Today, for many of us, the unthinkable, nuclear war, has become the thinkable, although we may not be aware that we have been led across this threshold. Today we are guided by new reassuring words, like theater nuclear war,